the other words that came up were things like organization, safety, rules, home, order, beer was also a word. I guess that is when you're going to describe a country in one word, beer would be an option. It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean, and visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de, for more information about the podcast, or you can get in touch with me by going to thegermanyexperience.de/contact. And every week we have the views and interviews and discussions with expats or people who are living in Germany or people who have some kind of connection with Germany. And this week we have Amaia from Spain on the podcast. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
And it's not your first time on the podcast, because the previous episode that you were on, Amaia, was the gender expatriation gap, trailing spouses, and the expat skill pool in Germany. And this episode is actually a follow-up on that, because you discussed a study that you and a colleague were doing in that episode. And now that project is complete and the results are out, and you've published the results of that study. How does that feel, by the way?
Well, it feels great. It has been a long journey.
I'm sure.
Yeah, but it has been great to get to know a lot of people that, like you, work with expats and try to bring expats together, and also expats together with the German community. So it has been great.
Yeah. And maybe just give, for people who haven't heard that previous episode, and I'll link to it in the show notes, so if people want to listen to that one first, they can. But maybe give an overview of the project that you and I think it's Carlos, were working on, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Carlos is my business partner. And so we met and we both were working with expats. And we saw that there were difficulties, especially for expat partners, to integrate in Germany. But there was no reliable data that showed that. All the data that we could find was international data with done by different companies, but nothing specific from Germany. And that's why we decided to have this data from Germany, and to find out if in Germany we saw the same things that we read about from other places. Mm-hmm.
So you, when we spoke, you were looking for potential participants to take in that survey. And as we said, that survey is up. You and Carlos, and I assume other people in the team, have gone through the results and come up with the findings in this report. But before we get into the findings, essentially, maybe we can just talk about the research participants. Did you have a lot of people taking part in it?
Yeah, we had 864 responses. Mm-hmm. So we're pretty happy about the results. Yeah. It was the first time that we did it. So from these responses, we have 67% are female and 33% are male.
Okay, that's quite interesting. And from looking in the report, I can see that the majority of the respondents were from outside of the EU, right? 59% from outside of the EU.
Yeah, we have people from 88 countries and 59% from outside the EU.
Okay.
And they are 73% are between 31 and 54 years old.
Okay. Yeah, so quite a big split between the age groups as well. Mm-hmm. And another interesting thing about this is the education of the participants. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, 96% of them have higher education. And from them, almost 60% hold a master's or a PhD. Mm-hmm. And they mainly, the main occupation is business and commerce, followed by some engineering and technical people.
But very, very educated. I mean, 96% of the higher education and over half with a master's degree or a PhD. That's very, very educated group of people that we're looking at here.
Yeah, that was our intuition, and that's what we found. So we're happy that the results show what we thought that we would get.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. And then just looking through some of the other stats here, we've got like 85% are married or in a committed relationship as opposed to 15% being single. And yeah, within Germany, they're in 144 different German cities, and 70% have lived in Germany for more than 3 years. So you're getting quite a good look of, I guess, people who've been here for a longer term and
they know what they're talking about. So.
And they know what they talk about. They've experienced it, and maybe gotten to the point where they're starting to feel more comfortable, or not. Maybe it's gone the other way. Mm. So the interesting focus was always for you guys the expat partners. So what do you think this report has showed you about the expat partners in Germany, essentially?
Well, that they are highly educated. As we've seen in the average, if you look only in the expat partners, you also have 98% of higher education and almost 60% with a PhD or a master's. And also 80% of them were working before coming to Germany. So they're highly educated and have work experience. And yeah, the surprising thing is that when you see and look what they're doing in Germany, only 45% of them work. And yeah, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, there's a gap there. And also quite surprising that 88% of them are women.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
88% are female, and of the partners, yeah, like you said, that stat is very, very surprising that 45% of the partners are working. So less than half of the people who are here as a partner are working.
Yeah.
So there is already, you can see that there's a big untapped market of potential there just by looking at that statistic. Yeah. The question also is, and I think you got a feel for this looking through the report, what is the satisfaction of those? Is this fact that they're not necessarily working but highly qualified a problem for them? Are they integrating in Germany? What is your feeling from the expat partner's perspective?
Well, satisfaction is always like a complex subject, so there's not only one way to look at it. But we have some indicators that show that they are not that satisfied. For example, if you ask them about their career satisfaction is 32% lower than for partners. So the ones that do work don't achieve that satisfaction. And also we can think about integration. Partners feel less integrated than expats as well.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to say, without reading too much, I mean, obviously there's a lot of stuff that's in your report, and you would have to interpret it, but it seems like there is a lot of upward room for improvement, as the Germans would like to say, for these partners in terms of whether or not they're working, and also with their satisfaction with integration and things like that in Germany.
Yeah, that's the big discovery is that there's this untapped talent that wants to be of use if you read that they are somehow dissatisfied.
Yeah, very interesting. And one of the things in this report that interests me specifically was you did an analysis of the words that we use. So Germany in one word. So essentially they had to choose one word to describe Germany, if I'm remembering that correctly. And according to your report, the answers included 223 different words, and 150 words were only mentioned once. So that's a lot of unique words, I guess you could say. But the interesting was the most repeated words. So the complete sample for the most repeated words showed that obviously bureaucracy was the word that came up the most. So I don't think that's any surprise to anyone, I suppose.
No, I mean, that's the stereotype. Sometimes the stereotypes are real.
Sometimes there's something to the stereotype. Yeah. And the other words that came up were things like organization, safety, rules, home, order. Beer was also a word. I guess that is when you're going to describe a country in one word, beer would be an option. But what was particularly interesting to me is the top. When you divided it into the top words for different groups of respondents. So you had the expats, and then you had the expat partners. And the top association the top word that was used by expats in general, as we've said, was bureaucracy. But expat partners, the top word was rules, if I'm seeing this correctly.
Yeah. So, I mean, this, just a remark about this question, this is like a question that looks to find emotions, because you only tell them, okay, tell me one word, and the top of mind word normally has to be do with your emotions.
Yeah.
So I like to analyze also like the first three words that come to their mind, because like if you looked at expats, you see bureaucracy, and the second one is home, and the third one is organization. So there's like a balance there, because they feel some kind of I don't know, pressure from the outside, like with the bureaucracy, but then they feel at home.
Yeah, which is quite surprising to me. But yes, that so many of them use the word home.
Yeah. If you look at expat partners, the word home is the number 34. So it's quite far away. And the first words are rules, bureaucracy, organization. So, I mean, there are different interpretations for this, but my feeling is that expat partners kind of interact more into day-to-day life in Germany, and they just hit themselves against this kind of rules and differences in the culture more often. Yeah,
I think that was my sense as well. I mean, I just did the survey when it was open, and I'm obviously not as close to the data as you, and it would just be my thought as well. But that seems to be what it's suggesting. I like the way you put it, that they go out on a daily basis and they're hitting up against these walls, and hence it must feel like there's so much rules around them on a daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, this suggests that they feel a little bit more like restricted, like surrounded by more rigid rules.
Yeah. And when you were last on, Amaia, one of the things that we spoke about was that the gender expatriation gap. Mm-hmm. What is this report in general told you about that gender expatriation gap? Does it meet what you thought the issues were beforehand, or has it highlighted new things that you weren't aware of?
Well, it's basically what we thought that we will get. So we have like a gender employment gap of 24%. Mm-hmm. That's 16 points higher than the average German figure in 2019. So it's even higher than the normal situation for a German woman. Yeah. Also, expat partners, like there were 7% of them were homemakers before coming to Germany, and then in Germany we have 19%.
So that's gone up.
That's gone up, and also they report a lower salary increase than expats. So female expats have a lower salary increase.
Yeah, and that's more or less what you were saying when you were on the podcast of the last episode. And like I said, people should definitely go and take a listen to that as well to listen to that discussion. And there's also some blogs that I can link to. So yeah, it definitely does seem to show that that issue there. So
yeah, the gender balance. When you move abroad, it's like a step back in gender balance equation. Yeah.
So one of the things that you're trying to do, or that you tried to do with this report, is to somehow predict life satisfaction for expats and expat partners, and also what that prediction of life satisfaction would mean for global talent management. Was that something you were able to do?
Yeah, we used predictive analytics to try to find out the key factors that have an influence on the life satisfaction, and we also found that there are different factors affecting the life satisfaction of expats and expat partners. Mm-hmm. So, for example, for expats, satisfaction with career success is the highest predictor of life satisfaction.
Right.
And for expat partners, that's the feeling integrated into the German society.
Okay.
So they give more importance to having friends and having a sense of belonging. I guess, I mean, if you move without having a job, then you're having friends and having a social environment is your first priority.
Yeah, your entire circle is different, and hence your goals are different. I think that's what this is highlighting as well. Just that difference is, of course, the expats have the career satisfaction as the top goal because they probably moved for the job, they're probably ambitious and so on, and that's that. Whereas the partners might, like you said, they don't necessarily have a job. The statistics show that many of them don't have jobs. So obviously that circle, that sphere is going to be very different, and hence the different goals that we're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't have to forget that the second predictor of satisfaction for expat partners is also satisfaction with their careers.
Right. So it's also it's right up there.
Yeah. So it's also important for them.
Yeah. So what are the opportunities for the stakeholders now that we know all of this? Who are the stakeholders that this information could be valuable for, and how can it help the situation? Because now we've seen in this report that there is this gap. What do you think these findings can do to help?
Okay, so data is always important for decision makers. So, for example, international companies have with this data the awareness that it's important to put expat partners into their agenda, because every time there are more couples, dual career couples that move abroad, and if it's not easy for a partner to find a job abroad, it's less likely that they will move. So international companies want to still have people that move abroad, they need to take care of expat partners.
Mm-hmm. And I know some companies do that. Some companies have that I've spoken to some companies that do have programs for the partners to help them socialize, to help them integrate as well. And I think that's probably what companies need to be doing more of if they're looking to draw on this international skill pool.
Yeah, also to gain diversity, because and try to change this equation that 88% of partners are female.
Yeah.
If they want to have more female expatriates, they need to work on this. There's also opportunities for German companies that they see that there's a pool of talent that's already in the country, and maybe they need different ways to access to this talent. We talked about in our last episodes that some expats have a gap because they, you told me that it took you 6 months to find a job when you moved to Germany. So I think German companies have to consider that expat partners might have a different CV. They bring a lot of good skills to the table, and they have to be considered as well.
Yeah, it's like they're missing something that's right on their doorstep. Basically, there's a whole lot of people, and generally people who are so well educated, you could assume, would also put time and effort into learning the language. Would at some point get better at German and so on. So there's a lot of factors here that they need to think about.
Yeah, because with German, it's always a problem. Like if you are not good enough in German, you cannot get a job. And if you don't get a job, you cannot get good in German.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the mentality that needs to change from a German company aspect, essentially, if they want to take advantage of these people. Yeah, that's 100% right. What about for other, you mentioned other organizations and things that could benefit. What about public organizations?
Well, for public organization, I think it's clear that we saw that there's bureaucracy was the first word. So
yeah,
I think helping with bureaucracy and helping people validate their permits, the working permits, or any help is good.
And interesting here, you said in the report as well, cities is also something that could benefit because they have the opportunity to benchmark themselves, I'm reading from the report now, with the best international practices to position themselves as innovation hubs and magnets for talents. And that's an interesting thought as well, that cities themselves would make a push to draw the right kind of people, skilled people, by putting certain things in place. Yeah,
and it's there's a lot of research that diversity is good for innovation. And I think creating these possibilities where more people, international people, can integrate in a city will bring more innovation to cities. And
So what are your, well, let me ask you this first of all, from your personal standpoint. What is this for Amaia, who is from Spain and living in Germany? What is the most important finding in this report for you personally?
Yeah, for me is that there's this underlying theme that expat partners have these difficulties in different aspects, and that's an opportunity and something that can be changed. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that if we change that, we will have a better society because more people will contribute. So yeah, for me, that's kind of a challenge to try to use the findings in this report to make things better.
And that leads me to my next question: is what is the next steps for the data that you have now? What are your next moves?
So we are already talking with some organizations and public organizations and companies to try to customize the report for them and offer them some recommendations to improve their services. So that's pretty exciting. We are also going to hold some webinars, talking with, for example, with expat coaches and different stakeholders to see also their perspectives and try to brainstorm solutions. And then we have kind of goals for the future. We will love this to be like a permanent data collection where we could do these different years and see an evolution, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe find out about the situation in different countries. But it's always step by step.
Yeah, it's a good start here with Germany. How if people want to contribute at this point, is there anything that people could do to contribute to the cause or I don't know, is there any way to help out, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, they can check our website. They can download the report for free. Mm-hmm. And if they follow us on LinkedIn, we will publish our webinars there. So they can join the conversation. We're happy if they join us. And if they have any ideas, just write us a note. And I think you can have our email on the website, or you can put it on the show notes.
I'm going to put it in the show notes, yes.
Yeah. So we're happy to have conversations about the subjects and all the ideas that people have. We're happy to collaborate.
Yeah. And you can find that information as well at expatsmonitor.de. Like I said, I'll put the address in the show notes, how you can get in touch. But just on Expats and Spouses Monitor website, you can see the project, the report, who's for, various articles about it, and how to get in touch. So definitely go to expatsmonitor.de. Good. Well, Amaia, it was really great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join and give me an update on this. I think it's such an exciting project and such an important project. So I'm really glad that it's worked out and delivered the kind of information. And also, like I said, we've just touched the surface of that report now in our discussion. We really just looked at the high level overview of it. If people are interested, they should definitely go to expatsmonitor.de to look at the full report and really see all of the details that were found. Because there's a lot of things like testimonials and quotes in there, and it makes for very interesting reading as an expat in Germany. Yeah, and also this report is only part of the findings that we have. So we have a lot of more findings that we couldn't have on this report. So we also offer customized reports for people to want to find out about in-depth information about any of the subjects. They can also contact us. Cool. So thank you, Amaia, so much for your time. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. It was great talking to you, Sean.